Part 46. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 455. Wang Shuo shook his head in disappointment and arranged him. Wang Shuo called Duan Wengzi, Chang Gui, Zhu Dongheng, and others to discuss the matter. Everyone, what do you think we should do with the second prince? Wang Shuo told them in detail about the second prince's background. What use can such a fool have, Duan Wengzi said with some contempt. Chang Gui said excitedly, with the second prince, we can raise the flag and fight for territory legitimately. Zhu Dongheng said, will it be too high profile and cause a large number of other empires to attack? Wang Shuo was shocked and broke out in a cold sweat on his back when he heard it. Now, the news of the second prince in the Dewei domain will most likely be spread. Because two of the strongest kings have escaped. They were originally from the second prince's faction, but now it is hard to say. If they tell the seventh prince's faction about this news, it will definitely be a great achievement. Chang Gui was also terrified after listening to Zhu Dongheng's analysis. Before we are strong enough, we must not disclose this news. Chang Gui turned his wooden head and changed his words. Indeed, it seems that the second prince is still a hot potato. Anyway, we should slowly accumulate strength, Wang Shuo sighed. Wang Shuo only hoped that Ayub and others would return as soon as possible. A few days later, Zhao Banged and others returned. Wang Shuo hurriedly asked about the situation. Zhao Banged shook his head and said helplessly, I have seen Ki in the Warcraft Mountains, but I can't bring her back in her current state. In the depths of the Warcraft Mountains, her body can be frozen. If she is brought out, there is no way to revive her now. Old Zhao, you don't have to be sad. There will always be a decisive solution. When Bingfeng Huang heard this, her heart trembled, and the temperature around her dropped by several degrees. Wang Shuo glanced at her with ill intentions. Master, nothing else, I'll go back to the space first. She wanted to escape from this place quickly, although she had an ostrich mentality. Wang Shuo didn't want to use the life of the Ice Phoenix Emperor to exchange for the life of Ban Ki at this moment. The Ice Phoenix Emperor could break through to the strongest king at any time, and he had made great efforts in several battles. Wang Shuo didn't want to be a person who would destroy the bridge after crossing the river. In this way, more than 10 days passed. The preparations for the establishment of the empire have been completed. On this day, the sky was clear and the weather was fine. In Wana City, Wang Shuo's coronation ceremony and founding ceremony officially began. Wang Shuo thought about it and decided to choose Wana City as the capital. The name of the empire was Wana Empire. The capital was chosen here mainly for safety. The Great Wall of Steel is like the strongest barrier of the imperial capital. In the future, the empire will continue to expand, and Taixu Ridge may not necessarily be the center of the empire. It is better to build the capital in the place Wang Shuo is most familiar with. Festive music sounded. Wang Shuo climbed the stairs. At Wang Shuo's request, the enthronement ceremony was repeatedly simplified. Wang Shuo came to the throne and turned around. All the senior generals bowed and saluted to show their submission to the emperor. Then, Duan Wengzi announced the important positions of the empire. Zhao Banged was appointed as the national teacher, Zhu Dongheng was appointed as the prime minister, Ayub was appointed as the general, Ye Tianba was the commander of the imperial guards, Duan Wengzi was the diplomatic envoy. All the important figures took up important positions. Just when everyone in the hall was smiling, time suddenly seemed to stop. Lord Zak, who had not appeared for a long time, suddenly appeared. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 456. Long time no see, Wang Shuo. Wang Shuo was quite surprised when he saw the slightly stooped little old man. Lord Zak. Wang Shuo was surprised and confused. Master Zak hadn't contacted Wang Shuo for a long time. Wang Shuo felt that Master Zack had forgotten him. "You've been doing very well during this time." Lord Zack looked at Wang Shuo with a kind smile on his face. "Thank you, Lord Zack, for your compliments. I came here specifically to congratulate you on the founding of the country," Master Zack said, took out a token and handed it to Wang Shuo. "This is a secret realm that can help people break through to the realm of the strongest king." When Wang Shuo heard this, he was very excited. In this way, there is hope for the rise of the Vanna Empire. After Lord Zack left, Wang Shuo's mood was still unable to calm down for a long time. After the founding process was over, Wang Shuo immediately returned to his residence and took out the token. The secret realm of the Tomb of Kings, a secret realm with extremely high mortality rate. Only one person is allowed to enter at a time. Wang Shuo felt a little uneasy when he saw this information. Then, he called the national master Zhao Bond over. "Your Majesty, come to me in a hurry." "What's the matter?" Zhao Bang heard the urgent move and ran over quickly. "Old Zhao, look at this." Wang Shuo handed the secret realm token to Zhao Bond. After Zhao Bond looked at it, he also frowned. "Mainly because of the extremely high mortality rate, this statement frightened me." "Your Majesty, what do you mean?" "I plan to go there myself." "This, Your Majesty, why don't you let others try it first?" Wang Shuo had already thought about it before Zhao Bond came. If it cannot break through to the strongest king, the Vanna Empire will be nothing more than a flash in the pan and may be annexed by other powerful empires at any time. Might as well take the risk. Not only Wang Shuo wants to enter, but also the high-level combat forces of the empire must enter to win a future. If you unfortunately die in the tomb of the king, it is your fate. People of our generation live to die, so we should move forward courageously. Zhao Bang fell silent when he saw that Wang Shuo had made up his mind. "If I don't come back, I'll leave the empire to you." Zhao Bond wanted to say something more, but he didn't say it out loud and just nodded. Then, he squeezed out a few words from the corner of his mouth. "Don't worry, I will protect this empire for you." Wang Shuo did not tell anyone else about this secret realm, including Gongzheng, Ayub, and others. The next day, Wang Shuo held his first court meeting. In the splendid hall, after conducting a normal court meeting, Wang Shuo announced that he would be in seclusion for a period of time. Now the empire is full of talents, with prime ministers and national advisors, and the empire itself can run smoothly. In the afternoon, Wang Shuo bathed, changed clothes, burned incense and prayed, then entered the tomb of the king. With a flash of white light, Wang Shuo appeared under a gray sky. The ground was full of broken tiles and ruins, a dilapidated scene. A tombstone suddenly appeared on Wang Shuo's back. A message appeared in my mind. Wang Shuo frowned and understood the role of the tombstone. If Wang Shuo died, the tombstone would bury Wang Shuo on the spot. If Wang Shuo breaks through to the strongest king, he only needs to break the tombstone and leave here. After a while, the tombstone could change in size according to Wang Shuo's wishes, and Wang Shuo put the tombstone away. This is the key to leaving here, so don't lose it. Wang Shuo looked far into the distance and found a tombstone standing not far away. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 457. Wang Shuo cautiously approached. The ground was full of gravel and rotten wood chips. Coming closer, Wang Shuo saw clearly the words on the tombstone. Lu Han's tomb. At this moment, the tombstone shook and a puff of black smoke poured out. Wang Shuo was shocked, it was death energy. A humanoid ghost appeared in front of Wang Shuo. Wang Shuo was startled. This ghost was different from the skeletons Wang Shuo had seen. The body was not dilapidated, but almost like a normal person. The only difference was probably the deathly aura permeating his body. Jaja. This monster, who should be named Luhan, let out a strange laugh. Wang Shuo was not absolutely afraid of the scene that was supposed to be eerie. Because he was used to it, he had killed countless undead creatures. However, Luhan's exposed aura surprised Wang Shuo. It should have the peak strength of a senior warrior. Wang Shuo didn't dare to be careless and immediately took out the Shura demon-breaking spear and pointed it at Luhan. Luhan seemed to ignore Wang Shuo, minding his own business, and had no intention of attacking Wang Shuo. Wang Shuo was on alert, and for a moment, he was a little confused about the situation. In this king's tomb, how can we break through to the king? Luhan looked at the surroundings blankly, seeming to be recalling something. Who am I and where am I? He kept mumbling to himself, sometimes baring his teeth and claws, and the expression on his face also changed. Ah! With a scream, he seemed to remember something, causing a splitting headache. He kept slapping his head with his hands. I am the king of the Tuxi Empire. With a roar, all the energy in his body exploded, causing ripples in the surrounding air. Wang Shuo's eyes widened and he took a step back. A lunatic, Wang Shuo didn't intend to pay attention to him anymore, turned around and left. Don't you want the keys on me? Wang Shuo stopped when he heard this. What key? Wang Shuo said doubtfully. It turns out you don't know anything. Ha ha ha, beat me. If you win, I will tell you. Wang Shuo noticed at this time that Luhan seemed reluctant to leave the tombstone. However, Wang Shuo felt that he should be able to defeat Luhan, so he stopped cowering and took the initiative to attack. After a few rounds of fighting, Wang Shuo had already figured out the opponent's strength. He used the move Dragon Leaping to the Sea and then added the move Go directly to the Yellow Dragon, which directly penetrated the opponent's body. Kill Ghosts 1/100. A system prompt sounded in Wang Shuo's mind. He hadn't heard this voice for a long time, and Wang Shuo still missed it a little. Wang Shuo remembered that the last system prompt said that only in some special places, some system functions were still retained. It seems that this place should be a special place. After killing Luhan, he directly turned into death energy and got into the tomb again. Damn it, how dare you lie to me? Wang Shuo didn't know why the other party forced him to fight with him, but it was obviously something that was good for him. Wang Shuo was a little unwilling and began to search carefully around the cemetery. What if the key the other party mentioned exists? After searching for a long time, I found nothing. Wang Shuo was a little angry and threw it directly at the tombstone. Luhan, come out, if you don't give me an explanation. I just smashed your tombstone and made you a lonely ghost without even a name. According to Wang Shuo's observation just now, if it weren't for the tombstone to remind him, he might have forgotten who he was. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Qi Wen. Chapter 458. Luhan felt a little uneasy when he heard Wang Shuo's threat, although only the strongest king had the strength to smash the tombstone. But he was afraid of the worst. If his tombstone was really smashed by this kid, he would really lose his life. He would slowly forget his name and his skills, and his strength would slowly decline. His final fate would be to be swallowed by other ghosts. Wait a minute, let's talk it over. Luhan's voice came from the grave. The key I'm talking about doesn't exist, or I am the key myself. As long as you defeat 100 ghosts, you can go to Yaquan Mountain, where there is a bath that can improve your cultivation and help you reach the strongest king realm. Wang Shuo was thoughtful. What will happen if I am killed by you? Of course you will become my colleague. For every 10 humans killed, I can also get the qualification to enter Yaquan Mountain once. After Wang Shuo basically understood the situation, he asked again, where are the ghosts? Ghosts are everywhere, but it counts only if you kill those with tombstones. Wang Shuo looked around. There were low hills in the distance. It was gray under the sky and he couldn't see very far. Within the field of vision, Wang Shuo quickly locked a direction. There seemed to be several tombstones there. Wang Shuo didn't dare to be careless. Logically speaking, a white tombstone corresponds to a master of the high-level general level. If several tombstones are triggered at the same time, he will have to deal with several people at the same time. Wang Shuo stood in the distance and observed for a long time, but he didn't go over in the end. Because he found that one of the names engraved on the tombstone was Extreme Demon Lord, Sun Xiaoun. This Extreme Demon Lord scared Wang Shuo. As a last resort, Wang Shuo had to continue looking for the lone tombstone. After walking for a while, Wang Shuo finally found a lonely ghost. This ghost was disheveled and had only the strength of a junior general. Wang Shuo did not hesitate and shot it with a shot, killing it instantly. But there was no prompt. Sure enough, it was inexperienced to kill such a monster. Wang Shuo walked a long way and felt a little hungry and thirsty. He took out the food and started eating. Suddenly, Wang Shuo felt his neck tighten, as if he was pinched by something. Wang Shuo tried his best to twist his neck to see what was behind him. But the range of his neck was too small to be seen at all. He could only see a black arm on his neck. Wang Shuo's face was flushed, and he resisted the difficulty in breathing and stabbed back with a spear. The ghost felt pain and immediately let go of Wang Shuo's neck. Wang Shuo turned around and looked, and the ghost slowly became transparent. Wang Shuo was a little scared. Why didn't he notice that there was a ghost approaching just now? Considering the current situation, this ghost should be able to become invisible. Wang Shuo became alert. This was too creepy. Wang Shuo stared at the surroundings nervously. He was sure that the ghost had not gone far. After looking around, he still did not find any tombstones. This ghost that could become invisible should not be too high in level. After waiting for a long time, Wang Shuo lost some patience. He wanted to escape from this place. So, he immediately turned around and ran in one direction for dozens of miles. He patted his chest and breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, he realized that he seemed to have broken into a mass grave. There were tombstones of all sizes around. Sure enough, ghosts woke up from the tombstones. Hee, finally there is fresh blood food, delivered to the door. Lord Survival, my shelter in Crocodile territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 459. Wang Shuo didn't have time to think about it, and released the Demon King and the Ice Phoenix King all at once. At this time, De Huang also conveyed to Wang Shuo the idea of coming out. Wang Shuo was a little hesitant. De Huang's level was still too low. He might be killed in seconds if he came out. But even so, De Huang still wanted to come out. Wang Shuo released De Huang and told it to hide far away. At this time, a ghost was approaching. But after sensing the breath of the Demon King, a black tombstone suddenly exploded. A black robe with a paralyzed face flew out. Wang Shuo felt the breath of the other party, and it was also a king-level ghost. Wang Shuo secretly said that it was not good. It seemed that he had really walked into a ghost's nest. Since you have come to the territory of our Blood River gang, it is your honor to be my little brother. Wang Shuo looked at the nearly 10 ghosts around him and had an ominous premonition in his heart. The battle was about to break out. Wang Shuo waved his spear and kept resisting the attacks of the ghosts. These ghosts have high IQs and can use the weapons in front of them, making them very difficult to deal with. Wang Shuo was immediately in danger, but fortunately Wang Shuo had the red pupil state, and the more he fought, the greater his advantage became. As long as the battle dragged on to the later stage, Wang Shuo would not be afraid at all. Woof, woof. Wang Shuo heard De Huang's cry and felt that De Huang should want Wang Shuo to kill a ghost. But in the current situation, it was good enough to be able to defend. After a while, Wang Shuo and Bingfeng Huang cooperated to freeze a ghost, and Wang Shuo took the opportunity to use Shura Slash. Finally killed one. The ghost turned into death and was about to escape back to the grave. But De Huang sucked it in. Wang Shuo was shocked. Could it be that De Huang was possessed? This is really humming true. If you don't commit suicide, you won't die. I told you not to come out, but you insisted on coming out. But after a few breaths, De Huang did not have any other changes, but instead exhaled the death air again. Wang Shuo observed De Huang's situation while fighting. I thought, silly dog, you are here to show off smoking. Can you just breathe in the dead air? Wang Shuo was a little confused. Looking at De Huang's appearance, his strength has obviously improved, but it is certain that it is not because of this dead air. Otherwise, why didn't De Huang breathe in the ancient battlefield and when fighting with the Black Dragon King? It should be that the dead air here contains the energy it needs for evolution. Wang Shuo couldn't figure it out, so he simply stopped thinking about it. Fight against the ghosts around him with all his strength. The current situation is not optimistic. The Demon King was dragged by the king-level ghosts, and it is still unclear who will win in a short time. Wang Shuo and Bingfeng Huang were surrounded by more than a dozen high-level ghosts of the Blood River Gang, but they were full of murderous intent. Just now, Wang Shuo and Bingfeng Huang suddenly attacked and caught them off guard, so they were lucky to solve one. But now the ghosts are on guard, and it is obvious that they can't repeat the same trick. Wang Shuo had to fight and retreat, hoping to stay away from their tombstones. I don't know if these ghosts dare to chase them away from the tombstone. Wang Shuo guessed that they should not dare, because Lu Han had roughly revealed that other ghosts could occupy the tombstone. This tombstone is like their home and is very important. Finally, at a weak link of the ghost, Wang Shuo seized the opportunity, used the control skill, and then used a big move to hit it, and took the opportunity to rush out. After Wang Shuo was safe, he quickly used the summoning method to collect the Demon King and the Ice Phoenix King into the space. After joining De Huang, he fled. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 460. Under a broken wall in a ruin, Wang Shuo took a deep breath for a while, and then confirmed that the place was safe. Wang Shuo carefully checked De Huang's condition. De Huang was the golden boss at first, and now there are signs of a breakthrough. This made Wang Shuo very happy. Bingfeng Huang also reached his limit, and only needed an opportunity to break through to the strongest king. If Wang Shuo and Bingfeng Huang both broke through to the strongest king, then the Wana Empire would have 3 strongest kings, which is considered a top force in the borderland. Wang Shuo no longer hesitated and began to explore slowly, looking for lone ghosts. He was too careless just now. De Huang was very eager for ghosts, and Wang Shuo decided to kill more lonely ghosts. After a good rest, Wang Shuo continued to explore, and soon he found a group of wandering ghosts again. Wang Shuo easily killed the ghosts. In fact, the ghosts in this place cannot be killed by external forces. The defeated ghosts turn into dead air and can quickly reassemble their bodies. But if they are absorbed by other ghosts, they are really dead. The ghosts absorbed by De Huang are the same. They only exhale dead air. These dead airs soon spread between heaven and earth and can no longer condense their bodies. Not long after, De Huang directly upgraded. This made Wang Shuo more motivated. Although Wang Shuo summoned the Demon King Maris, he rarely let him take action. Wang Shuo came to this place to train. Without enough combat experience, even with the strength of the king, it is difficult to become a top master. So, in the following time, Wang Shuo did it himself. There was really a huge gap in strength, so he asked Naris to assist in the attack. If he still couldn't beat him, he could only run away. De Huang also successfully became a star-level boss a few days later. This made Bing Feng Huang and the Demon King sigh in their hearts. Thinking back to the beginning, they wanted to reach this level, and they had gone through untold hardships and wandered on the edge of death many times. Look at De Huang again, they are jealous. Sure enough, it is better to raise it at home. Wang Shuo has been wandering in the cemetery for 3 days, and he has completed 2/3 of the task. But it is difficult to encounter a single tombstone nearby. Wang Shuo observed for a long time and planned to take action against the previous Suihe gang. The reason for choosing them is, of course, for revenge. After De Huang was upgraded to Xinjiao boss, he turned into the nemesis of ghosts and could directly absorb the souls of ghosts. This is the confidence of Wang Shuo to dare to retaliate. Suihe gang, come out and die. Wang Shuo shouted from a distance at the tombstone. Damn, who dares to come to our Suihe gang's territory to make trouble? The ghosts of the Suihe gang crawled out of the cemetery one after another. Seeing that it was Wang Shuo and others, they burst into laughter. You defeated generals, dare you to act wild again? I let you escape last time, but you won't be so lucky this time. Wang Shuo saw that the opponent's boss had not yet appeared, and did not let the Demon King take action. He rushed straight over with De Huang and Bing Feng Huang. Bing Feng Huang used a freezing skill directly, and the ghost in the front was directly frozen into an ice sculpture. And the ghosts behind were also slowed down. Wang Shuo directly attacking Huang Long to hit it seriously. De Huang's 3 dog heads exerted force and sucked it fiercely. The opponent turned into ghost mist and sucked it into De Huang's mouth, and then sprayed it out of his nose and dissipated between heaven and earth. Lord Survival, my shelter in Crocodile territory. Author, Qi Wen. Chapter 461. The other ghosts were a little panicked when they saw this. They naturally felt that their companions were dead. This scares them. But Wang Shuo did not give them time to fear and began to attack again. Wait until the second ghost is absorbed by rhubarb. The boss opposite finally couldn't sit still. You dare to kill my brother, are you tired of living? Wang Shuo chuckled, don't worry, it will be your turn later. Just get rid of these ghosts that are only at the senior warrior level. Then Wang Shuo, De Huang, and the others took action together. Wang Shuo felt that dealing with the king's ghost was like searching for something. As one ghost after another was killed by De Huang, the remaining ones began to beg for mercy. Even the boss of the Blood River gang began to give in. But Wang Shuo was unmoved. If he could just beg for mercy and say a few words of submission, he could escape death and the world would be peaceful. Finally, only the Blood River gang boss was left. What do you want? I won't hold you accountable for killing my men now. From now on, we will keep the same. Wang Shuo smiled, is this guy mentally retarded? Hey, you don't seem to understand the situation now. Don't think that just a few of you can deal with me. I also have a backup, so don't let the whole thing fall apart when the time comes. The Blood River gang boss threatened. Wang Shuo touched his chin and stared at the other party for a long time, feeling a little unsure. But no matter what, it is impossible to be scared off by the other party. If you have any means, feel free to use them. Let's make plans. The Ice Phoenix Emperor used ice sealing, the Demon Emperor then breathed out a mouthful of flames. Wang Shuo used his ultimate move, dragon shadows filled the sky, and rhubarb began to suck souls. After one operation, the boss of the Blood River gang was immediately in a panic. You forced me to do this. Back off, back off, back off. He shouted several times at Wang Shuo and others, and then emitted a deathly aura like ink, disturbing everyone's sight. When Wang Shuo dispersed the fog, the other party's figure was nowhere to be seen. What the hell, you ran away. Wang Shuo never expected that the other party wouldn't even ask for a tombstone and ran away. Wang Shuo laughed in anger. He held a spear, pointed it at the tombstone of the Blood River gang boss, and started smashing it. Wang Shuo didn't know if he could smash the tombstone with his current strength. Boom, boom, boom. Wang Shuo smashed it for a while and found that only a shallow mark was left on it, which made Wang Shuo a little helpless. Marius, come and try it. The Demon King first burned it with dragon flames. After finding that it had no effect, he waved his claws and smashed it, but it still couldn't be destroyed. It seems that this kind of black tombstone is not so easy to be damaged. As for the white tombstones next to them, it took Wang Shuo a certain amount of time to break it, and Narasi only needed a few hits to break it. But Wang Shuo did not destroy them all. This kind of thing doesn't mean much to him. The task is almost completed. Wang Shuo began to look for Yaquin Mountain. But no trace of Yaquin Mountain was ever found. A few days later, Wang Shuo finally completed the task. At this moment, he easily saw a mountain peak. Presumably, this is Yaquin Mountain. Wang Shuo walked straight towards the mountain peak. At the foot of the mountain, countless bones are piled up, which is shocking. On the mountain peak, there are circles of winding trails. Yaquin Mountain is a solitary peak, like a bamboo shoot, reaching into the sky. The entire mountain was dark in color, and there was a gray sky all around. Wang Shuo walked alone on the path and struggled to climb up. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Qi Wen. Chapter 462. Wang Shuo had thought about asking Naris to take him up directly, but the sky near Yaquin Mountain seemed to have an invisible barrier that prohibited flying through. It seemed that climbing this trail was a test of some kind. The mountain wind was whistling around, and a small stone slipped down. After a while, the echo was heard from the bottom of the cliff. Wang Shuo had already climbed very high. But the mountain wind at this time seemed to be getting more serious. The wind didn't look strong, but it was extremely cold and piercing, penetrating into the bone marrow. Wang Shuo couldn't help but tremble his teeth. This was even more uncomfortable than fighting with the king. Wang Shuo couldn't go up or down now. He looked up at the mountain, and it was still endless. Wang Shuo was desperate. No wonder he saw countless bones at the foot of Yaquin Mountain before. They must be climbers who fell from above. It's really not easy to become the strongest king. Wang Shuo now thinks that it's good to break through slowly like the Demon King. The path on Yaquin Mountain looks like a shortcut, but it is paved with countless corpses. Wang Shuo gritted his teeth again and moved up a few steps. After walking for an unknown period of time, Wang Shuo's consciousness had already fallen into a trance. He now had only one belief: upward, upward. The path on the mountain peak could only accommodate 1 foot. Wang Shuo's body was close to the mountain, and his hands grasped all the rock protrusions that could be grasped. Slowly moving forward. After another day, Wang Shuo finally climbed to the high platform on the top of the mountain without any danger. During this day, Wang Shuo had countless hallucinations. Sometimes he felt that he unified the continent and became the supreme ruler, and sometimes he felt that he was killed and betrayed by his subordinates. Sometimes he felt that he had returned to Blue Star, returned to his warm bed, and wanted to fall asleep. But he survived all the illusions. On the high platform, the figure of Lord Zack appeared. "Congratulations, you passed the test." Wang Shuo shook his head, forced himself to cheer up, and stood up. "I almost couldn't stand it." At this time, the scene around changed. The top of Yaquin Mountain, which was howling with cold wind just now, suddenly became like spring all year round. Wang Shuo wanted to curse in his heart. It was really a joke, playing with people to death. There was an ancient palace not far away, and at the door of the palace was a small swimming pool. "Go," Lord Zack pointed to the swimming pool. Wang Shuo just took 2 steps and suddenly stopped, saying to Lord Zack, "Lord Zack, can my pet take a bath?" "Haha, you really are, go," Lord Zack nodded and said with a smile. Wang Shuo's face was happy, and he quickly released De Huang and Bingfeng Huang. Lord Zack also thoughtfully expanded the swimming pool to accommodate Wang Shuo and his two pets. Entering the swimming pool, Wang Shuo didn't feel anything, just like taking a hot spring bath. The warm feeling permeated the whole body was comfortable, as if all the fatigue was swept away. After soaking for a while, Wang Shuo felt that he seemed to need to practice. 10 days later. Ang! A dragon roar was heard, resounding across the mountaintop. A golden dragon was hovering above the swimming pool, and even De Huang and Bingfeng Huang, who had been promoted to the strongest king, were a little afraid. This golden dragon was naturally the ultimate skill great heavenly dragon that Wang Shuo had comprehended after practicing dragon spear art to the 9th level. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Qi Wen. Chapter 463. The Golden Dragon is no longer a phantom, and its explosive power in a short period of time is comparable to that of the strongest king. The Black Dragon Sutra has also been cultivated to the peak, and Wang Shuo has also broken through to the strongest king level at this time. It can be said that stepping into the king is the peak. Although Wang Shuo has just broken through, most of the strongest kings are no longer Wang Shuo's opponents. Wang Shuo stood up and looked into the hall. Lord Zack felt it. Come in. Wang Shuo walked into the hall and saw countless new novice areas being nurtured. How about it, are you interested in these novice areas? Lord Zack smiled slightly. Wang Shuo looked at these novice areas curiously, they were like the prototype of the Great Huai domain. Is it okay? Wang Shuo asked tentatively. Of course. At this time, Wang Shuo was not very interested in these novice areas. Compared with the powerful empires of the Xinwu Empire, Wang Shuo was more interested in them. But Wang Shuo still said, okay. What can I do? You can also select some people to enter the novice area and put some pressure on them, but they can't be too strong. After Wang Shuo understood the specific rules, he returned to Wana City with pets such as De Huang. Wang Shuo's return caused a great sensation to everyone. Especially Zhao Bangde and others, they were even more anxious. He wanted to reach the strongest king faster, so that he would have the strength to travel around the continent and find a way to revive Ban Ki. When he heard Wang Shuo say that there was Lord Zack in the tomb of the king, he was even more excited. If he could meet Lord Zack, maybe he could directly revive Ban Ki. Although Lord Zack might not agree, it is always a way. Wang Shuo did not let Zhao Bangde wait too long and handed the token to him directly. Next, Wang Shuo summoned Ayub and asked about the military strength of the Wana Empire. Your Majesty, the empire currently has 5 million troops, including 2 million human soldiers and 3 million monsters of the demon race. There are more than 120 general-level masters and more than 50 senior generals. Wang Shuo was deeply shocked by the set of numbers. Afterwards, Wang Shuo called Gilaji over. When distributing official positions, Wang Shuo handed over all the spies outside to Gilaji. And gave her a task, which was to find out the military strength of the surrounding empires. Gilaji stood up and said with a bow, Your Majesty, the current Roland Empire has 2 strongest kings and 10 senior generals. In the Mali dynasty further north of us, there is 1 strongest king and 14 senior generals. Gilaji said one by one, and Wang Shuo looked serious. It is not difficult to defeat the 2 nearest empires, but the problem is that the nearest third-level empire, the Maka Empire, has 5 strongest kings and more than 50 senior generals. If the Maka Empire, in conjunction with several other empires, attacks the Vanna Empire together, it will be a bit bad. After all, if the Roland Empire and the Mali dynasty are captured, the territory will be too large. It is too difficult to defend. Wang Shuo plans to accumulate more strength first. At least several people on his side have the opportunity to break through the strongest king. After learning about the tomb of the king, Wang Shuo gathered all the high-level warriors for special training. In the ancient battlefield, Wang Shuo spent a huge price to simulate the environment in the tomb of the king. He personally played the opponent and trained Gongzheng, Ayub, and others. The opponents also included Wang Shuo's 3 strongest king pets. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Qi Wen. Chapter 464. As for the matter of the novice trial area, Wang Shuo handed it over to Duan Wengzi, selected some newcomers with potential, and put them into the novice area, just as a move of chess. Unlike Wang Zhu and Lu Hong, Wang Shuo already had absolute confidence in the novice area. But Wang Shuo changed his mind at this time. They should have had absolute confidence at the beginning. Thinking of this, Wang Shuo still occasionally paid attention to the matter of the novice area. The days slipped away slowly. A month later, Zhao Bang returned safely and broke through to the strongest king. At the same time, he also got a resurrection pill from Lord Zak. After a brief exchange with Wang Shuo, he couldn't wait to take the resurrection pill and went to the Warcraft Mountains. After some thought, Wang Shuo decided to let Ayub enter the tomb of the king. Just as the Vanna Empire continued to accumulate top combat power, the various empires on the Valandia continent were engaged in epic wars. Countless empires, conquering each other, and wars continued. On this day, Master Tongchui's disciple suddenly came to ask for help. "You mean, the Frost Empire will encounter a catastrophe this time?" Master Tongchui's disciple told Wang Shuo the situation of the Frost Empire in detail. After discussing with everyone, Wang Shuo decided to go there in person. On the one hand, it was because of Master Tongchui's favor, and on the other hand, Wang Shuo remembered the kiss in the water. "How can we go to the Frost Empire?" Wang Shuo was a little worried. "If we go too late, the opportunity will be gone." "Your Majesty Shura, I have chosen a path. We just need to rush to the nearest teleportation array and then teleport all the way there. In the Valandia continent, many teleportation arrays between empires are not open, but there are always some neutral cities that can be used for long-distance teleportation. At this time, it is necessary to find a teleportation path. You know, for ultra-long-distance teleportation, the number of energy crystals required is very large, and the teleporter needs to prepare it himself, and he also has to pay tolls. But these are nothing for an empire." So Wang Shuo set off immediately. After 3 days of teleportation, Wang Shuo finally arrived at the Sky City, the capital of the Frost Empire. Sky City is not built in the sky. It is still on the ground. When he came to the city, he was surrounded by hostile forces outside the city. Wang Shuo was immediately welcomed into the palace by a prince of the royal Ye family. Master Tongchui and the Emperor of the Frost Empire hosted a banquet for Wang Shuo. At this time, the hostile forces outside the city had not yet started to attack the city. Although the atmosphere in the city was a little tense, it was not out of control. Master Tongchui stood up and saluted. "Your Majesty Qi Tongshura is indeed a trustworthy person. I am deeply relieved that you can come to me in times of crisis." The Emperor Yehui of the Frost Empire also stood up to greet him. "Your Majesty Qi Tongshura, you have worked hard all the way. Please take a seat." After Wang Shuo sat down, he returned the greeting and said with a smile, "You two don't have to be polite. You should just call me by my name. This Majesty Qi Tongshura is really a bit weird." "Ah, haha. Okay, then we will call each other by our names. My name is Yehui." Wang Shuo looked around and found that there were only 3 of them, so he said straight to the point. "I don't know what the situation is now." Yehui sighed, shook his head and said, "The attackers this time are the Parthian Empire, together with the Truni Empire and several other small countries. There are nearly 10 strongest kings." Wang Shuo raised his eyebrows and felt a little tricky.